once again to Real Shame, a show where me and he talk about our list of movie blind spots, movies that we didn't see, they passed us by, or we passed them by somewhere along the way, and now we are kind of trying to rectify that in our own small way. My name is Andy.
And I'm Adam.
And on Monday's episode, we tackled a Denzel Washington movie that I had never seen before called The Siege from 1998. Adam paired that with another Denzel Washington movie, and he's going to tell us all about it.
All right. After a ferry is bombed in New Orleans, an ATF agent joins a unique investigation using experimental surveillance technology to find the bomber in Deja Vu.
You and Larry were close?
Yeah, close enough to get on each other's nerves.
Doug, I've been put in charge of a newly formed investigative unit. The ferry disaster is our first case, and I want you on the team.
Why me?
We've got some unique time constraints. I need someone who can look at a crime scene exactly one time, tell us what's missing, tell us what shouldn't be there, tell us what we can ignore, and especially what we need to pursue. Also, you're local, you know the people, and you know the area.
So why an ATF guy?
Why not? It's your shot. You want to find the guy who killed Minuti, don't you?
Yes, I do.
So Deja Vu came out in 2006. It is directed by Tony Scott. It is written by Bill Marshall and Terry Rossio. Terry Rossio usually writes with Ted Elliott, I think. It's Elliott and Rossio, I think. But from what I read...
He cheated on him for this movie.
He cheated on him. Oh, I think Bill came up with some good ideas, and they were emailing back and forth, and came up with this movie. Although I will say that they weren't happy with the final product. But we can talk about that a little bit later. This movie stars Denzel Washington as Doug Carlin. We have Paula Patton in this movie. We have Val Kilmer. We have Jim Caviezel, Jesus himself, Jim Caviezel. We have Adam Goldberg, Edlin Henson, who we might know from Daredevil. We were talking
Foggy
about
Nelson
a little bit earlier, or Mighty Ducks, depending on your age.
Yeah.
And then always great Bruce Greenwood as Jack McGrady. It's a movie that I've seen probably 3 or 4 times. It's kind of a guilty pleasure movie for me.
3 or 4 times, wow.
It's kind of a guilty pleasure movie for me because I kind of put it in the whole paycheck kind of thing where it's, kind of, I call it like verge of reality sci-fi where it's not quite reality, but it's kind of close. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I kind of had fun with it, with these kind of movies. I don't take them seriously, but I'm not talking about the movie yet because it's your week. So what'd you know about Deja Vu going into it? Did you get sick of Tony Scott's camera tomfoolery?
I think I always do.
Well, you kind of liked it in Enemy of the State, right?
Well, I like the movie overall, but that doesn't mean I don't get a little sick of the camera work and the editing, yeah.
Tony Scott, camera tomfoolery, and what'd you think of Deja Vu now?
Camera tomfoolery, I like that. All right, so you asked, I think at the end of last episode, if I was going to have deja vu when it came to this movie, and I think in a little way I did. I have not seen this movie before, so don't worry. It's not a case of like, I accidentally had seen this movie.
It's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday, so yeah, that's true. It could be. All bets are off. That could be a day where we've both seen the movie. But I've not seen this movie. However, I did feel a little bit of deja vu because just a few weeks ago we watched a movie that also has Denzel Washington and Bruce Greenwood, Flight. So I was like, hey, they're back together again. And then also felt a little bit of deja vu because I wrote down, is this the Enemy of the State Part 2? Because it kind of feels like it, because there's a lot of that surveillance and patch me into this camera and, let's do this or whatever, that kind of thing. So it's definitely got that techno thriller kind of vibe that Enemy of the State did. Yeah. But what did I know about this movie going into it? Zero. I knew Denzel Washington was in it. I've seen the poster with him on it. That's it. I didn't know anything else about this movie because this movie, of course, it came out in 2006. He did like Out of Time a few years before this and some other kind of movies. All those movies kind of run together for me. Like I remember kind of seeing the poster for most of those movies.
I've never seen Out of Time.
I can't remember if I have either.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of the movies that he kind of did in this period, I don't think I've seen any. I did see Men on Fire, which
Yep.
came out somewhere around
Also by Tony
there,
Scott.
which I hate that film with a passion. I
Yeah.
can't stand that film or Domino. Those are two movies that he did in like the mid
More
2000s,
Tony Scott tomfoolery.
which I hate. Yeah, big time. Like just upchuck inducing editing and camera work in those films. So Enemy of the State is a movie that we did by Tony Scott, as we mentioned, and I actually had avoided seeing that for a long time, but I did like it.
Yeah.
And Deja Vu, I knew nothing about it. I did like it.
Oh really? I thought
nope,
you were building up to
nope.
be like.
I did
This
like
movie's
it.
like-
I didn't know it was. I guess this is classified more as like a science fiction kind of film. I didn't know.
so.
I as I was watching it, I thought it was going to be like The Siege. He's going to investigate this ferry bombing. What's going to happen here? I mean, I didn't know that it was going to start dealing with time travel and all this other stuff. So once the sci-fi element came into play, now you and I kind of mentioned earlier, again, we don't discuss these movies, but you did
we don't
say
do much detail.
you did say that Kirby kind of asked about when they are surveilling Paula Patton if there was something a bit more to it other than just like, oh, we can only look back, what is it, 4 days or something like that?
I think it was it 7 days?
I can't remember.
I think it's 7 days.
But it's like a certain
something
window
like-
of time. They can't go back any further than that, and they can't go any forward or anything like that. I did think that was a little weird. Like I was like, this is strange.
But I think like we were saying with that, I think the movie leaves it ambiguous at that point to where you're supposed to be like, what they're saying doesn't really pan out.
But I didn't know that it was going to ultimately be like time travel or anything like that. But I mean, obviously, even before they do the whole surveillance thing, he goes to Paula Patton's house. He sees You Can Save Her on the fridge. So I thought something weird was going on there. But I didn't know, again, because I didn't know this was a sci-fi movie. So I didn't know time travel was going to suddenly come into it. And then it's him calling on the answering machine because she had called him earlier. I didn't know how that was all going to work out, but then it all started to kind of make sense. But I thought that made the movie really cool to me because as it's going along, and once you do realize that it's time travel, you start putting the pieces together in your head, and you go, "Oh, now I know he's going to be the guy that puts You Can Save Her on the fridge, and he's going to do this," and that's where bloody clothes and stuff comes from, and all this kind of stuff. So I actually thought it was a pretty neat movie.
Yeah.
And as you said, the two guys that wrote it maybe weren't satisfied with the result, but I was. I mean, I thought it's actually a pretty decent movie, and I could see myself watching this again. Surprisingly enough, because I'm not the biggest Tony Scott fan, but I did like it. I was actually very entertained, and I think the movie, yes, the camera work is a bit much and the editing is a bit much, but the movie does move at a pretty rapid fire pace. As I think probably most Tony Scott's movies do. But in this case, I went with it and I enjoyed the ride. I thought this was actually a really fun movie.
Well,
I
cool.
liked it a lot.
I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, to comment on the writers, so from IMDb, basically the writers felt that Tony Scott didn't really capture what they wrote. Excuse me. They wrote what they felt like was a pretty airtight, bulletproof kind of screenplay. And they felt that Tony Scott focused more on the action scenes and probably the whiz bang of it all and all that kind of stuff, and didn't feel like it was reflective of what they actually wrote. And apparently, I think it said Terry Rossio has not even seen the movie. He was so dissatisfied with it. And then it said later on, Scott also admitted that it's mediocre. He did a mediocre job directing the film, but blamed the 19-week production schedule. When they were doing, because originally I think it was going to take place in New York, and then they were going to film in New Orleans, and then Katrina happened, and they were going to push it somewhere else, but then they ended up filming it in New Orleans even after Katrina and all that kind of stuff.
And they filmed it in New Orleans. It created jobs when they moved the production there, and they were able to work in the destruction that Katrina had wrought kind of into, because you see destroyed buildings and things in the movie.
So I'm with you. Like I said a little bit earlier, I kind of like this movie. There's a lot that I like. I do think Tony Scott kind of gets a little old with his camera techniques and showing everything and editing and stuff like that. But I do like how it's kind of like, I have a soft spot for good time travel movies, right? And this is like one of them. We have like Triangle, we have like Looper. We have interesting movies that kind of take time and use it to its to its benefit and stuff like that. So I thought that this is like one of those ones, even though it's a little bit more flashy than I'd say some of those other movies.
Yeah.
Primer's another good time travel movie, but I like how it kind of does that kind of stuff, and they find a way to make sure that there's no two Denzel Washingtons at the end and stuff like that. So I think it's kind of clever. Maybe
Yeah.
Time tries to figure out a way that there's no two at the end. So I'm like you. I like the whiz bang of it all. I kind of like it. I think Denzel's great in it, and everyone does a good job. It's good seeing Val Kilmer. It's good seeing all of them, Bruce Greenwood, all the guys. So yeah,
I like it too. I mean, I like it, as you just mentioned, all of those people, because obviously Jim Caviezel is the villain, and he is definitely a terrible guy in this movie, because he just wants to blow people up for his cause, whatever he thinks his cause is. But you don't have anybody in this movie. Like, I expected at one point, Val Kilmer's going to be
in on it or something.
Or evil, or Bruce Greenwood or something. And you don't have any of that kind of crap, so it's good. I mean, everybody, again, is working towards this common cause in an unconventional way, with this weird ability to basically create like a wormhole where they could see 7 days in the past or whatever. And then, have they ever tried putting something in? And it's interesting how, because he wants to leave the note for himself, but he ends up not finding it. It's this other agent that found it, and that's why he ended up there. And, the way that it all kind of works together is very clever. I'm not so sure that it all holds up if you really examine it under a microscope, but what time travel movie really does? I mean, I think maybe Primer, because that's a very, very smart, intelligent film, but who cares? I mean, I think these movies are, for the most part, really fun. And again, I find it interesting that those guys, I mean, obviously they wrote it and they had a vision for what they know the script way better than I do. So I can see them, but what ends up on the screen, I think, is perfectly adequate and fun to watch. So it's interesting that Tony Scott's like, mediocre. I did a mediocre job directing it, but I think it works. Yeah. I think it works. And it works quite well.
Maybe when he thinks he does a mediocre job, it means it's more relatable for us.
Maybe. Maybe so.
Maybe he thinks the best job he did directing was Men on Fire, Domino.
Oh, God. Well, I hope not. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, I was gonna say this movie sold for a record of $5 million. That's a lot of money for a script.
Oh wow.
That's some Shane Black kind of money back in the Lethal Weapon kind of days.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you. I think it's a fun watch. It's it's definitely better than The Siege, and it's like I said, it's one of my, I don't really have guilty pleasures, but I kind of group this in like my paycheck kind of movie bucket of like interesting sci-fi techno thrillers kind of stuff. So I like it. So I'm glad you like that.
Even the Adam Goldberg character, he's kind of a dick at first. It feels like, he's like, well, jump right in here anytime you want. And I thought, oh, great, his character is going to be a dick the whole time. But they actually end up pretty much becoming buddies, and he helps him out. Yep. He sends Denzel Washington back to the past. So, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone's an antagonist on the good guy side, it's Bruce Greenwood.
Yeah,
because he wants to shut everything
down. We're done.
But Val Kilmer's on board, Adam Goldberg. So,
And again, I mean, because of what has happened to Val Kilmer, because they had the documentary that recently came out, and what has happened to him, it's such a shame. And to see him in all his glory, in movies like this, and obviously Top Gun and things that he made in the 80s.
Bang, bang.
It's always great. Yeah, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Yeah, great film.
Yeah, we're gonna
fun stuff.
Luckily, we have that stuff captured, so we can go back to that and stuff like that.
Yeah, Val Kilmer's awesome. Denzel Washington's awesome. This movie's fun.
Good. Well, I'm glad you like it. I thought I was rolling the dice with this one, but I'm glad.
Well, you hit a good one. Yeah,
there we go.
I liked it.
All right. Well, that was our thoughts on Deja Vu on these Wednesday episodes.
Wait.
Sorry. Yeah, go.
Do the critics real quick.
Yeah. Do it.
It's on Amazon Prime, which is where I watched it, and it's 56% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. 73% audience score. Leonard Maltin, 2.5 stars. I didn't find a Roger Ebert review, a print review, or anything like that. So I don't know if he just missed it or what. Yeah, I don't know. Or maybe I just am bad at interneting. Not sure. Okay.
All are valid.
Anyway.
All right. Well, that was Deja Vu. Let us know what you think down below. On these Wednesday episodes, we always like to answer viewers' questions. So we picked one that is pertinent for this week. We were watching some Denzel Washington movies, and we figured, hey, why don't we talk about some of our favorite Denzel Washington movies? There's a lot that I haven't seen, especially for some of his more renowned kind of movies. Like I haven't seen Fences that came out not too long ago that he was in, and he also directed. I haven't seen Malcolm X. I haven't seen Philadelphia. So there's a bunch of performances that he's done that he's been well acclaimed for that I've missed. So I'm not going to mention those, but I do know they're out there, and maybe they're holes that we'll be able to fill as we continue doing the show.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've done Flight, we've done Glory, we've done Courage Under Fire. Now
Much
we've
Ado
done
About
Siege.
Nothing.
We've done Much Ado About Nothing. So we've done several of his movies already.
Yep. Yeah, you said Virtuosity, right?
No, I did not, but yeah, Virtuosity.
Virtuosity. I almost chose He Got Game coming up, but I have not chose that one yet.
Okay.
I chose something else. And did we do Remember Titans? Because have you seen the Remember Titans?
No, we did not do Remember
Okay,
Titans,
yeah.
so we'll do that.
So, yeah, go ahead.
Looking through his filmography, I was not a big fan of The Equalizer. That's kind of a more recent film he did.
I've never seen The Equalizer.
He's great in. I didn't see Equalizer 2, but Equalizer. I mean, again, he's good, but the movie itself is not that great. He was great in Roma J. Israel Esquire, which I think he was nominated for an Academy Award. But I thought the movie was fairly lackluster. I know we're kind of talking about his performance, but I
liked him actually in Two Guns. Like Two Guns is based off a graphic novel, and it's a fun movie.
Yeah,
like I'd recommend Two Guns, and also I like him in Safe House. Like that's another kind of like spy thriller with Ryan Reynolds that I think he's great in everything, but I think it's a pretty fun movie.
I think I saw Safe House. I can't remember.
And then there's and Inside Man, also really good. That one's directed by Spike Lee, right?
Yeah, I like Inside Man
Owen.
quite a bit. Yeah.
I think that one's a really smart kind of bank heist movie. I like bank robbery and bank heist movies, so that's high on my list.
So I'll give 2 shout outs,
Yep.
and then I'll pick my favorite probably performance, and also I think it's a good movie. I'm gonna shout out Crimson Tide because that's the cool ass movie.
Yep.
Denzel Washington and Gene Hackman, and then I'm going to shout out Malcolm X, Spike Lee's Malcolm X. That's a long, epic film, but it needs to be. Delves deeply into Malcolm X's rise to kind of what he became and his eventual assassination. Those are both really good movies and both really great performances from Denzel Washington. But I think, and I have a few gaps as well, in Denzel's filmography, but I feel like I've hit a lot of the high notes, the important movies. Honestly, this is a movie that surprised me at how much I liked it because I really didn't think I was going to like it that much. And he won an Academy Award for this. It's Training Day.
Interesting.
I think Training Day is a great film, and he gives a fantastic, again, well-deserved Oscar-winning performance in Training Day, directed by Antoine Fuqua.
I've seen Training Day. I am not a fan of Training Day.
No?
I think it was really hyped when I saw it. And it just was like at that point where it couldn't ever meet my expectations, right? Because I felt like everyone was talking about how awesome it is and like how gritty it is and stuff like that. And I just
I think I was lucky enough to catch it before the wave kind of the hype maybe. But yeah, I was really impressed by it. I think it's a good, very tense movie. And he's a despicable character in it, but he's still strangely likable.
And I feel like he doesn't play a lot of like despicable characters.
No. Most of the time he's the good guy, like he is in the movies we watched this week. Yeah, most of the time he is.
So I will shout out The Bone Collector. I think I like that movie a lot.
I don't know if I've seen that.
And I said Remember the Titans a little bit earlier. That's really good. I will say probably my favorite role that he's done and movie too is Crimson Tide, which you shouted out, right? Yeah. So that was also directed by Tony Scott, who we've been talking about earlier, right? Before he got to his
I think he's a little bit more restrained.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, you have the great like heated debate between Denzel and Gene Hackman. It's amazing.
Yeah, 2 absolute powerhouses going at it. Yeah,
it's awesome. So for me, it's got to be Crimson Tide.
Good choice.
And then great score with all that kind of stuff. It's a really good movie.
Yep, good choice.
All right. Well, that's our favorite Denzel Washington movies. Let us know what your favorite Denzel Washington movie is. Maybe it's one we've seen. Maybe it's one we haven't seen. Like we said, we have some gaps, so we need to...
Speaking of Shakespeare, Much Ado About Nothing, he recently directed The Tragedy of Macbeth, which
it's coming out this year.
Yeah.
So we'll do that, and we'll do whatever you guys mentioned down below. Let us know what your favorite movies are, and if we haven't seen them, we'll add them, because that would be cool. All right, please like, subscribe, share, do all that social media stuff for the show. It really does help, and we really do appreciate that. And what else do I say? Thank you, and stay tuned next week as we watch some movies from my list of shame, and we'll see you soon, guys.